for joining me today for my we're having a little bit of just a moment. Just gonna ask everyone to mute their mics for me. We're having a little bit of reverb, echoes.
Not recorded. Zoom meeting is being recorded.
So thank you guys for joining me today for my talk on how I beat cancer. I got a lot of questions concerning what I did, what I didn't do. So I thought it would be a good thing to just get everybody in on one page and just explain everything. I am going to go through it very quickly. It's not very detailed. I said in my introduction that I am not a medical professional. I can only tell you what I did for me and the results that I got from it. And I'm hoping that it blesses someone. And if you can take any part of it away from this that helps you on your journey, that would be the best thing ever. So for me, I was diagnosed with stage 3. Actually, it was stage 2, follicular lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's. And then when they did the biopsy and they realized how much of it had gone through my tissue sample, they changed the stage to stage 3, which is the highest stage for that particular type of cancer. So they wanted to be very aggressive. They wanted to do radiation and chemotherapy right away. I decided that I needed to take some time before I handed my body over to them to figure out what it is I needed to do. I'll give you a little more detail on that when I get to the end. You're going to have an opportunity to ask any questions also at the end. There's a lot of information on the slides. I would suggest getting a piece of paper and something to write with. If you want to take notes, I can also, if you want to contact me after this, send you the PowerPoint. It breaks down everything. I won't touch on everything that's on the slides, but I wanted to put all the information in there so that you'll be able to see exactly what I did and what I stopped doing. So we're just going to get into it. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So the one thing that I did do that I was advised to do during my journey was to eliminate internal toxins. Also do my research that my doctor gave me. It had shown several of the trials that they had done received positive results when it came to intermittent fasting. So I incorporated intermittent fasting throughout my journey, which was about, honestly, from June to November. And it's not a very long time. I was diagnosed with stage 3, so I had to be very aggressive in the beginning. So I started juicing, but juicing in particular for immunity, I did not put any of the recipes here that I used because they're very detailed with ingredients. But if you want to get the recipes that I used, I can send those to you as well if you want to contact me afterwards. Most of my recipes included green peppers, which I thought were going to be disgusting drinking, but it was actually very tasty. It was a lot of green, a lot like spinach and kale. And then I used alkaline water. My nutritionist that was paired up with my oncologist told me that I needed to drink 96 ounces of water per day in order to make sure that my body had enough fluid to flow all of the medication that I was receiving. I did immunotherapy, not chemotherapy, which is a step down. It's an injection that I received in my abdomen. First, it was intravenously, and then into the muscle tissue in my abdomen. And the way that they chose the type of medication that I was going to receive was when they took the biopsy, they figured out what particular type of cells, T cells that I had, and they chose Rituxan. So this may be different when it comes to anybody else that's getting cancer treatment. If you're doing immunotherapy, it's going to be paired to the particular type. It's targeted for the type of cancer that you have. And so my nutritionist said that in order to make sure that my body was releasing the toxins, I needed to drink at a minimum of 96 ounces per day. So the rule of thumb when it comes to water is that you need to drink at least half your body weight in ounces per day. That's a lot of water, even though I would have considered myself prior to this a good drinker of water. It did not compare to the 96 ounces. So I had to get used to drinking that much water. And I also chose alkaline water with a pH balance between 9 and 10. That means it had the greatest amount of alkalinity that I could find. I did find some that was 8, but I was told to just try to stay with the higher levels between 9 and 10, which 8, 9, and 10 is good for your body. So intermittent fasting, alkaline water, enough water to flush your system. And your body needs water anyway to function, for brain function, for all of your organs to function. Our bodies depend on water. So even if you're not dealing with cancer, make sure you're drinking at least half your body weight in water, which also means there's a side effect of going to the bathroom often, but at least you're getting rid of all the things that you don't need to have in your body. What I also did, so those were the things that I added. So what I eliminated was anything in my house that had high fructose corn syrup. It's in everything. So what I found was that even though I was more or less a clean eater, I ended up throwing things away like my ketchup, my jellies. It's in bread, it's in drinks. So you want to look at that because it converts to sugar. It's something that cancer feeds on. Cancer feeds on sugar. So you want to eliminate anything that will convert in your body to sugar, and especially and anything that's directly sugar. For me, my struggle was chocolate. So it was more progression than perfection for me in the chocolate area, which people who know me know that's my thing. So that was a hard battle for me, giving up the chocolate. One of my doctors advised me that, I can eat chocolate, stick with the dark chocolates, and something that I cannot find right in the grocery store, the common grocery stores or the gas station. If I eat chocolate, I need to eat, he called it high class chocolate. So I didn't really have access to high class chocolate. So I just eliminated chocolate as best I could. And I did pretty well after about a month. Progression over perfection. And then cereals. I am a big cereal eater. I would eat cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's my go-to. It's quick, but cereal has all the bad stuff in it. I was given a research paper by one of my doctors, and they had fed cereal to mice in this study. They fed a whole diet with all the nutritious foods to another group of mice. And then the other mice, they just gave them nutrition deficient food. So basically they put them in starvation mode. And the ones that died were the ones that ate cereal, just cereal. It's the way that they process the cereal. It's how they make it into the shapes. That whole process does something to it, and it strips it of anything that's nutritious. And then when it goes into the body, it starts stripping your body. So you want to stay away from cereal. Also in the studies that I was given by my doctors, meat, and most of the studies was not a good thing when you're going through therapy. It's, if you're going to choose to use meat, you want to use something that's lean, and also stay away from the red meats. Don't crucify the messenger. If you're going to eat meat, stay away from the red meats. Do your fish, do your chicken. But when they looked at who had the better results when they did the research, it was those that were doing intermittent fasting and that had gone on vegetarian diet. And it wasn't for the entire week. It was more or less 3 or 4 days intermittent fasting with vegetarian diet, and then they ate whatever they wanted to eat. So it's not something that you have to drastically change. For me, I was not a big meat eater, so it wasn't hard for me to make or to consider the switch. There wasn't really a switch for me. I would say now that after going through immunotherapy, my body does not tolerate the protein of meat. So I'm not able to eat chicken. I'm not able to eat tuna. It's just, tuna is my real go-to thing. And so that's been an adjustment. The other thing that, like I mentioned earlier, you just want to make sure that you eliminate all of anything that will convert to sugar. So breads, pastas, I'm a big bread eater. That was also hard for me. So breads, pastas, rice. Basically what you want to do is stick to whole foods, your veggies, and you want to stay away from processed foods. So stay away from drive-throughs, cook your meals, stay away from things that are in the can, because when it comes to things that are in the cans, they have preservatives in it. So if you think about how long the shelf life is of something that's in a can, think of that preservative now going into your body and what is it preserving. So you want to eat stuff that you can get fresh as possible and cook. That will cancel out a lot of all this other stuff that you have to deal with. And for those of you that are on vegetarian diets, they have all these, veggie burgers. You want to be careful with the vegetarian diet as well, because pea protein converts to a substance that I cannot pronounce, so I'm not going to even attempt it. So you want to be careful the type of pea protein that you use, because that's not good for your body either. So for those of you that are on the vegetarian diet and you're using the Impossible Burgers, or there's some other brand names that are out there, you want to be careful of the type of pea protein that they have in them. So next, this recipe was given to me by my uncle, who also battled cancer and conquered it. And it's just bush tea. For those of you that are not from the islands, or our generations so far past that you don't remember bush tea. It's just something that I know my grandmother used to make. They would go out in the yard and they'd pick these things. And so he sent me this list of ingredients that he uses daily for himself. It's a whole body cleanser. So what I would do is get the leaves and put it in a pot and boil it. His tradition is to boil everything and then put it in a gallon jar and put it in the refrigerator, and he drinks out of that for the week. Because I had to drink so much water during the day to flush out my system, I just used the bush tea as another way to get the water in, but something that had a little bit of flavor. I did not add sugar. I did not add agave syrup. I did not add honey to it. Some of these tastes are very strong, but you can handle it. And this is good. If you look at it, if you can see it, I hope the writing isn't too small, but I'll point out a few things. The mint, it treats dizziness, nausea, headache, and nasal congestion. These are some of the symptoms that come along with getting cancer therapy. But it's also rich in vitamin A, C, antioxidants, and it aids in proper digestion. A lot of these that you will see aid in proper digestion. Most research shows that the disease within the body comes within the digestive tract. So you want to be able to eliminate properly in your body, and these things do it. So we have mint, we have senna, we have eucalyptus, moringa, dandelion, bitter tea, lemongrass, soursop, and sugar apple leaf. I was not able, there's a star next to sugar apple leaf because I was not able to find that in the US. But I'm sure if you're in the islands, you can probably find that. Lemongrass is also known as fever grass, or is synonymous with fever grass. So they have the same properties. Basically, all of these things help to regulate the body. So my goal wasn't just to fight cancer. It was to get my body in a healthy state So I used everything that I could to regulate the blood sugar levels, my cholesterol, which wasn't a problem. Some of these things, one of the added benefits is stress relief. I, at times, with going through something like this, you can get anxious and you sometimes need something to help you relax. This is a natural way to do that kind of thing. Some of these make your muscles relax too, because you'll see later that one of the things you have to do is keep moving. But they also do things, they help with fatigue. Going through treatment, it was necessary it became necessary for me to take a midday nap. And the nap was so deep that sometimes I would have to have my best friend call me and wake me up, make sure that I got up to finish the rest of my workday. So some of these things help with that as well, with your fatigue. And a lot of these help with the liver function. And that is one of the main ways that our body deals with toxins. So you want to make sure that your liver is functioning properly, that your sugar levels are low, that your blood pressure remains at a good optimum level, and then also that you're building up your immunity. So these things, I call them bush tea because they're leaves, and I guess that's why we call it bush tea. You just throw the bush in your pot and you boil it, and then you just drink the water. And so what I would do is I would boil the leaves and then just keep adding water every day until it looked like the color was becoming clear. And then I dump those leaves and then add some more leaves. And I just mixed everything in together. It wasn't, some days, if I felt more congested, I would do, and that's only recently in the cold weather, I would add more mint. One thing that I don't have here, I would put ginger root in there as well. That just came to mind. And then at the bottom, there's something that says turkey tail mushroom. My cousin gave me, when I first was diagnosed, referred me to a show on Netflix. I think I watched it on Netflix. And it was about mushrooms and how they help the human body and the benefits. It's a complete breakdown of how what mushrooms effects are in different mushrooms. So there's some things in there that are just, in my opinion, a little weird. But I mean, if you can think of maybe the 70s, you'll probably get there's some mushrooms that you don't want to use. Let's put it that way. And then there are these mushrooms that are beneficial to your health. And the turkey tail mushroom was the one. So I watched the whole thing to boil it down to this one mushroom is good for fighting cancer. His mother was diagnosed with cancer, I think at somewhere be 76 or 86. And she started ingesting the turkey mushrooms and he grows them. So I was able to find the product online at Amazon, and it was not expensive when it comes to my health and saving my body and giving me what I needed to fight. I don't consider it to be expensive. So I took that along with the pre-medications that they were giving me and drinking my bush tea. So diet, drinking the bush tea, and then where can you find the leaves? For those of you that are in the US, local farmers market, I have not found it in leaf form in natural health stores, but they do have some of these in powder forms. You can find them on Amazon. And for those of you lucky enough to be in the islands, you could just walk over to your neighbor's yard and go grab some. I have a friend that's in Antigua and she packs it. She picks them, dries them in her oven, packs them and sends them to me. So it's all, just get it where you can get it. And hopefully you have a strong enough network of family and friends that can support you in getting what you need. But when it comes to, I would say, of course, the most inexpensive way is to go pick them yourself. And the local farmers market is probably the very next. If you do find them, I would say try to make sure that they're organically grown, because what you don't want to do is be boiling the leaves and then ingesting the pesticides if they aren't. And organically grown, you have to really do your research, because it's easier nowadays for them to put organically grown on something, because there are all these loopholes. So you'd have to do the research. If you do find a product, do the research to see exactly what they mean by organically grown, so that you're not ingesting more toxins into your body, because this is about eliminating the toxins. And then, of course, there's Amazon. You can find it on Amazon as well. It was difficult for me finding the right things on Amazon. So I would always call my friend Carolyn Antigua and say, hey, this is what I'm finding on Amazon. Is this the same name as what you're sending me? 6 times out of 10 it was. So I just relied heavily on her, and still I'm relying heavily on her. So check out these sources. If you find that you cannot, Georgia has a very big farmers market. But if you find that you cannot get these things, please let me know, reach out to me. Don't feel as if you have to do without because it's not in your local market. Just reach out to me. These things benefit the whole body. So even if you're not dealing with cancer, reach out to me and we'll figure out something and how to get it to you. So now it's about eliminating the external toxins. I would say this was challenging too. I spoke to actually my chiropractor, and he started walking. Every time I went to see him, he would give me something else that I needed to think about getting rid of. So here are a few things that I did. Here are the only things really that I did. Aluminum-free deodorant, which if any of you see that lady, I can't think of what her name is. She has the big hair, and she's talking about, she did the review on the natural deodorant. Getting aluminum-free deodorant is an adjustment because it's not an antiperspirant, so you will sweat. And what actually happens is that you start spreading out the toxins first. But then once you do it long enough, then you'll get to where it works for you, but you do have to apply it more than you would have the other deodorants. So aluminum-free deodorant, and why this is important, some of these things that are on here that has to deal with your body, is because our skin takes in everything, right? So it comes in contact with all these things. So when you're trying to get your body into a healthy state, you need to be careful of what you're putting on your skin. So it was aluminum-free deodorant for me, chemical-free shampoos and conditioners. You'd be surprised what's in shampoos and conditioners. Chemical-free soap, which was kind of easy because I think ivory is just ivory. It's just soap. But I also use Dr. Bronner's body wash, and you can use that for shampoos as well. That is good for just so many other things too, and it's chemical free. And then chemical free toothpaste, this was an adjustment too. I switched to a charcoal toothpaste. It doesn't have that minty, they have the oils in there, but it's nothing like Crest toothpaste, right? So I tend to brush more often than I would if I had used the other stuff, because it doesn't have that chemical lasting effect, which makes sense, right? And then I did a scalp detox. So a lot of the chemicals that they were giving me, the medication, is going to come out. It has to come out somewhere. And so a lot of us don't give consideration to what's coming out of our scalp. And we women don't wash our hair as often as men do. They just jump in the shower and they take a shower and then they wash their hair. For us, it's not the same. It's planned washings. So you have to be careful. That's what's on your scalp. You can find a scalp detox on YouTube. That's where I found mine. And it detoxes your scalp and your hair. So you just want to make sure that you're doing that periodically. I would say once every 3 months, maybe 6 months, along with your regular shampoos. And then you also don't want to shampoo your hair too often. Those of you who are going to go through chemotherapy or have gone through chemotherapy know that it makes your hair very brittle. So you want to be careful with stripping your hair of its natural oils. Those are some side effects that you cannot really avoid. For me, I didn't lose any of my hair because I did immunotherapy, which was a lot easier on the body than chemotherapy. And then you also want to look at your cleaning products. What are you using in your house? What are you washing your dishes with? What are you washing your clothes with? So here in the US, there are a lot of options for detergents. And I was able to get one that's plant-based at Sam's Club. So I use that. And I noticed my daughter doesn't have as many eczema breakouts as she was before. So it's a good thing. And a lot of these things benefit in so many other ways. Like I said, it wasn't just about beating cancer. It was a whole body thing, making my body strong and doing whatever I needed to do on the outside and on the inside. So eliminating emotional stress. I did not realize, I always heard that stress was a silent killer. I did not realize the effects of stress, emotional stress, until I had my daughter. And so I was a breastfeeding mom. And when I would think that I was handling things well, whether it was work stress, stress at home, relational stress, it showed up in my production. So I had never experienced anything like that until her, where I could actually see that something that bothered me affected what was going on in my body. So I would be able on a good day, I'd be able to get 5 ounces, pump 5 ounces of milk. On a stress day, I may be able to get 1 ounce. So it's a big difference. So for me, for those of you that don't have kids or are men, if you consider you're able to get 5 ounces of food as opposed to 1 ounce of food a day. And it's all because of what's going on internally in your body. Then you'd know that you need to eliminate whatever is affecting you, right? And stress is something when you're going through any type of dis-ease in the body, you need to make sure that you're eliminating stress and emotional stress. So stay away from your triggers. And triggers can be people, can be places, can be things. Stay away from those things because they do affect your body internally. Research shows that people that pray or people that go to confession do a lot better when it comes to managing stress. So find your outlet. For me, it was prayer and also worship. I'm a worshiper, so I will sing all day long. I would have a track. I would pick a song and I would play that song. If it was on a record, the record would be scratched. I just find my thing whenever I'm in that moment. That's what I use to just calm my spirits. That's what I use to set my mind at ease, to set my spirit at ease. And therapy is also good. Going and talking to someone. Now there's ways that you can virtually, you don't even have to go into an office. Find someone that you can speak to therapy-wise. There are churches that offer therapy free. So find a way to talk and let things out, basically, right? Sometimes, honestly, prayer doesn't always do it. And then get a support group. My best friend is like my right arm. If he wasn't there for me to talk to, I would not have made it. So then I also joined for a very short period a cancer recovery support group. It wasn't for me, but for some people, that may be the route that they need to go. There may be some things that you can learn in it. I did learn in the support group, but I felt that it made me consider some things that I wasn't in that particular place. And so I left feeling more heartbroken. So for me, it wasn't good. So this is really a personal thing. Like you have to find the things that work for you. This is not cookie cutter. This is what Chene did. So this is what I'm going to do. This particular thing, eliminating emotional stress, eliminating anything that's going to be a trigger to you is a personal thing. Some things may not bother me that would bother you. You know yourself. And so you have to be in tune with what's going on. And then there were times when I didn't realize what was happening in my body until maybe it happened again. I'm like, oh, this is bothering me. And I see it in the way that my body is responding. So I need to step away. So you want to protect yourself. You want to make sure that what's presenting on the outside, that smile, that peace, that joy, is actually what's happening on the inside, because stress is a silent killer. Okay. So I want you guys to make sure if there's nothing else that you take away from this, just take away that you need to protect your peace, right? So I went through chiropractic care. This is a very bad picture because I
Chene,
stole. Yes.
I do apologize. I don't know if you have Q&A at the end of this, but I just wanted to ask a question right now. I see you talking about it, the emotional stress of it. What would you say was your mindset when you initially find out? If I missed it, I'm sorry, but I would like to know that.
No, you didn't miss it. I'm saving it for the end. So can I answer that question at the end?
Sure.
Okay. So if I somehow manage to talk myself around it and don't get to it, please let me know. But I'm going to save that to the end. This is for those of you that have limited time. I wanted to give you all the stuff that I did, and then if you can hang around to hear my story, I'll give you that at the end, and that will incorporate Melvin's question, or the answer to his question. And this is being recorded, so you can always access the link and the information later, or I can send you at least the PowerPoint later. So one of the things that I find to be highly controversial is chiropractic care, but it was one of the things that I also credit as saving my life. If you can see the image on the left, which I stole, I took a picture of it when they were discussing it. It's an X-ray of my spine. And I don't know if you can see the detail, but on the picture on the right, it's the front view is a straight line. It's a straight up and down. If you look at my image, I have a curve. Actually, I have a curve that goes, anyway, it's the wrong way. and I should, from front view, just be one straight line. That's not the case with me. Very early in life, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, but they told my mom I probably would end up being in a brace. That never happened. God has been so good. I've been dancing. I was an athlete. I still dance. So there's a lot that I'm doing now that God has blessed me throughout the years. But the reason why this has helped a lot, and I continued the care, is when you're not in alignment, there's fluid that travels from the brain throughout the body through your spine. And so if you think of a water hose, if you put kinks in the hose and the water's on, and the water can't go anywhere, it's not getting to where it needs to go, you're not going to get your body to function the way that you need it to if you don't have access to your spinal fluid. And getting my spine in alignment was key to getting my body to function properly. Some of these things that you can't see is there are, I'd say, let me call them cushions in between the bones. And when the spine is out of alignment, they're squished, they're compressed. So that touches nerves. So some of you that have dealt with slip disc or things such as that, you understand that kind of thing. But the most important thing is to get the fluid running from your brain to the rest of your body. And all of those connections come through your spine. So if your spine is not connected right, if your spine is not in right alignment, it's like your car wheels not being in right alignment. You can go, your tires will wear out quicker, and then eventually you're going to have more mechanical issues. And it's the same as the body, right? So for those of you that don't subscribe, this is just something that helped me. My body felt better. I was able to overcome my infirmities quicker when I get adjusted, and my body feels different. If you make the switch, even for a few days, from not eating meat and just eating veggies, you will see that your body responds differently. You're able to think better. Um, your energy levels will rise. So you'll be able to tell the difference between eating meat and not eating meat. And you'll find the same if you go through chiropractic care. This was taken last year. The doctor said that it's probably going to take about 2 years to get me into right alignment, but I'm believing that it's going to be even shorter than that. When they looked at the x-rays, and it's a new chiropractor for me because I recently moved, but when they looked at my x-rays that they took last year, they thought that the spinal curve had just occurred within a few years. But I was diagnosed with this curve in my somewhere between 11 and 12 years old. So they expect, research has shown, and their experience has been that when you live with this type of thing, your bones, to protect the body and to absorb the shock, it grows bones to fill in the gaps that the curve has caused. I don't have any additional bone growth. So in their minds, this is something that's fairly new. But I know that that's just God keeping me. So my bones, none of my discs have melded together because the bones have these gaps. I have been kept this entire time. So my thing is, they think it's 2 years, but my God healed cancer in 2 months. So I'm believing, and I'm going to keep a track of this and see what happens in the very near future to get my body completely. So if you have the ability to get your spinal x-rays, I would say do that just to see where you are. Most of us don't realize that something may be a little off, and it could be something very simple. I picked my daughter up in the car one day rushing, and I won't say that I threw my back out as they say, but I couldn't move for almost 3 days. It was very painful, and I had to get adjusted through it. But within a week of adjustments, I was walking. Still very tender, but it's gotten a lot better. So if you have the opportunity to see what's on the inside of you, I would say do that. In the US, there are places that you can go and get your x-rays done for $20 and not have to make a commitment to do anything else. I would caution you though, that if you're going to a chiropractor, make certain that they do x-rays. Do not hand your body over to anyone that is just going to make adjustments to you. My advice, without knowing what's going on the inside. So do your research, and then get moving. So this is a picture of me and my brother. He came over and I took him on this hike that my best friend takes me on. And it's about a 4-mile hike. The first time I did it was in, I want to say, an hour and 15 minutes. And so my goal was try to get it under an hour. But I found that the more treatment that I had, the less oxygen my muscles were getting. So it was very difficult to do that kind of thing. And I also walked in the neighborhood, which was I would try to do 2 miles in my neighborhood. And I think it was about the same, maybe 2.5 miles in my friend's neighborhood. But as I went through treatment and my treatments progressed, I had to cut that down severely, but I never stopped moving. And so you have to do that. Recognize where you are, but push yourself, because the way that the toxins get through the body, the way that your lymphatic system operates is through compression of your muscles. And that comes very easily with walking. We're in Georgia, and where we live is very hilly. So in the Bahamas, I know in Freeport, it's more flatland. So maybe you want to extend it, but most researchers and doctors will say 30 minutes of walking a day will do your body good. Do what you can, walk, hike, swim. swimming, if I could swim, I would do that every day. I recently went on a trip to Turks Island just after being diagnosed. And we went into the water for breakfast. We went to water after lunch. We went to water after dinner. I think it's very good if you could take advantage of the salt water. That just benefits your body all around. And it's a full body exercise. It works your heart. It works everything, just like walking does. And because of the water, you're not putting a lot of stress on your body. But most importantly, getting out there gets you the sun, right? And vitamin D is very important for us. So you need to make sure that you're getting out, you're doing something. If you feel that you can't do it on your own, it's not safe, make sure you take somebody with you, but keep moving. Always keep moving. Just keep moving. It's important. And I posted a few links here. I don't know if you want to take your phones out and grab these for you. Those of you that are in Grand Bahama, my Aunt Alice has a gym and she is a beast when it comes to this kind of thing and moving. Also, my cousin, her daughter has classes, virtual classes. I was just connected with Patrice, who is phenomenal. She is the only person that I have worked out with who can do everything. She does step, Zumba like Ava does. She does HIIT. She does cardio dance. And they are, in my opinion, charging less than what they're worth. So find these ladies. It's all virtual. You can go into an Alice Gym, Mind, Body, and Soul, and truly get your mind, body, and soul into a right alignment. And these other ladies will get you moving in the comfort of your own home. You don't have to leave. Especially those of you that are going through treatment and have to be careful of exposing yourself to others that may be sick. In this environment, you can get in contact with these ladies and maybe see me in a class, but make sure you're doing something. Make sure you're doing something and then do it on your level. All of these ladies will help you to find programs that work for you at what you can do. And what I like about it is that they're live. So what I was doing before, I was just pulling things up on YouTube, but you don't get the benefit of somebody looking at you and saying, hey, the way that you're doing that move, you're going to hurt yourself. This is how you should do it. And they have stopped classes in the middle of the class to say, no, I need you to do it this way. They also offer personal time. So if you're interested, get in contact with these ladies. They're phenomenal. And yes, Ava has posted her information in there. If Patrice is online, go ahead and post that in the chat too. I know there's a free or a discounted class coming up, I think on the 31st. And if Aunt Alice is on, go ahead and post your information. Actually, if there's anybody who is a fitness instructor, anyone that is in this realm that's going to help us get healthy and keep moving, go ahead and put your information in the chat so people know how to find you. Make sure you put where you are, where you're located. Okay. And then another thing for me was sleep and relaxation. So like I said earlier, midday naps became a thing. I needed that hour. And right after work, I needed an hour again. I also, after treatment, would sleep an entire afternoon away. I mean, just crash. For me, a lot of it was the Benadryl. I am a lightweight when it comes to medication. So just 2 regular tablets of Benadryl would knock me out. And they were giving me 10 milligrams, which is just a lot. It's a sedative for me. And just the fact that, so the medication on treatment day made me sleepy, but the working of my body through the process of treatment made me tired, like on day 3. So day 2, I was up, bouncing around, good to go. But on day 3, when my body has had 2 days of working through this, I ended up I felt like I was dragging. It was harder to move around. It was harder to do things. So sleep became very important. I've heard that the best way to get the best type of sleep is in complete darkness. So if you want to change your curtains to those blackout curtains, turn the TV off when you're going to sleep. Don't work in your bed. Don't get on your phone. Make sure, I think it's maybe an hour before, which is, I know it's hard to not have that blue light in your face. It helps with falling into sleep. For me, I go to sleep with nothing on. And if I do have the TV on, I'm up. I will, as long as the TV is on, I'm awake. So know you, right? What works for you. So no TV for me is good. Doesn't mean that TV can't be playing, but if it's something that I'm interested in, I'm awake, right? So know you, get the rest that you need. And there's so many different ideas of how many hours and what's the right hours. I think it's something that is a real personal thing because all of us don't work the same hours. So our routines are different. Just make sure that you get enough sleep or you get that deep sleep. My watch tells me if I've slept. And so I started tracking that, like really paying attention. How much sleep did I get? And was it deep sleep? And then good TV, relaxation, right? Good TV. I say good TV because there are some things that you watch that will stress you out. Some people watch the news and they are on edge. You want to watch things that are good. You also want to be mindful of that emotional stress. So you don't want to be watching your soap operas maybe, and then they have some kind of thing that triggers you. And so that falls into your home life. So make sure you're watching some good TV, National Geographic, History Channel. Those are my things, educational stuff. And then I like series. So watch something that the whole point is to relax you, right? You need to be relaxed and stress-free. So books, journaling for me, sitting in the park with my daughter on the days that I just didn't have the energy to do anything, I just let her go play. And just sitting out there, I'm also getting my sun. I'm also in a mental state where I can just maybe think about some things, but because of being outside, something about being outside, being in nature just does it for me. And the more that I get an opportunity to be outside, the more I want to be outside. So just being outside is a good thing. And then time with family and friends. That right there, that last one was everything for me. In the 8 months of my treatment, my best friend was like, him and his family were like there for me, physically present the entire time. My family lives about an hour away, but whenever we could get together, we got together. And then it's always laughter. And it was in a toxic environment. So even when I wasn't thinking, and laughter is medicine, right? So being with people that you can just unwind with, relax with, but they are paying attention to what's going on with you. So if they see you, say maybe looking in a depressed state, they're in tune enough to say, hey, you want to do something, you want to go for a walk, you want to talk. So make sure you get a group of people around you or a support team that's going to help you. And these things are important. So sleep and relaxation, right? That goes back into reducing the emotional stress. So here's the part that Melvin wanted to get to. But before I do that, I am going to open it up for questions. If you have any questions about anything, if you need me to go back to another slide, let me know. I am going to attempt to look at the chat, but if you want to just open up your mic, put your hand up, and maybe I can scroll through and see so we're not all talking over each other. Come back to the share. Okay, so I see Ava has a question. So Ava, if you want to go ahead.
Hello, good morning. This was awesome. First of all, I guess I don't really have a question per se. I want to start off by saying again that this was amazing, very informative, the parts I was able to catch. So 2 things. I definitely am interested in getting the PowerPoint. And I wondered if you would be able to maybe give us some ideas of the products and lines, because I know you were talking about the different shampoos and deodorants and stuff like that. But for those of us that would not even know where to start, if you can maybe suggest some, product lines or brands or something like that, so we can try to start figuring out a path in that direction. Um, and then the last question or comment just escaped me. But thank you. This has been awesome, and I'm looking forward to getting to watch the replay and everything.
Okay, so when it comes to the product lines, I searched online. I am anything that piques my curiosity. I mean, in any way, I Google. Google is my friend. And it's because my dad ruined me whenever I wanted to, ruined me in a good way, whenever I wanted to learn, whenever I needed to write something or I needed to spell a word or to write a definition when we were coming up in school. And I would ask him, he would just say, look in your dictionary. And so I formed the habit of, if I wanted to know something, I would just Google. So I Googled aluminum-free deodorant and was shocked to find that Secret, which is the brand that I use, actually has an aluminum-free line, but I never found it in the store. I have yet to see it in the store where I live. So I ended up searching Amazon. Amazon is my other best friend. They send packages to me almost daily, and I love it. I pay for it, but yeah. But I found the aluminum-free Secret online at Amazon, and I looked to see there were Tom's, but when it came to Tom's, the reviews that I was getting was that the oils that are used to create the deodorant stick usually leave stains on your clothing. Some people credit it to your body detoxing from your old deodorant, and that's just the toxins coming out. Either way, I didn't want to go through that. And then I also, a lot of the reviews said that it didn't last long. Like they would smell fresh from home on the drive to work. And then by the time they walked up the stairs or got in the elevator, they started to sweat. And I didn't want to do that either. So when it came to Secret, the aluminum free, they had 3 different scents. I'm highly sensitive to fragrances. So although they were aluminum free, they were scented. So I didn't want that either. And there was just one in particular that didn't have a scent. So that's the one that I purchased. And I got it on Amazon. So Tom's I know of. Tom's also has the toothpaste. I use Hello as a brand. My daughter uses Hello as well because she has eczema. So we don't use anything perfumed. She inherited that perfume stuff from me. So we use we use Hello, and it's just Hello with a period. And we use, for those of you that have kids, we use Baby Ganix for her wipes. They're oil-based, so they don't have any chemicals. For you women, I use my sanitary napkins also don't have chemicals in them. They're chlorine-free, perfume-free. So there's some other things. So you want to pay attention to everything that you're using, right? The good thing I would say, one of the good things about the pandemic is that a lot of the grocery stores have moved to online. So if you're in online shopping, so if you're anywhere near like a Kroger, which is where I shop predominantly, you can search these products that are chemical free and get those from there. Other than the detergent, which is, I think it's pronounced Enos, which is the plant-based detergent, I get that from Sam's Club. So Tom's, Dr. Bronner's is great. And it has scripture on it, but I don't know what the history of the product is. But Dr. Bronner's, they have all of these washes that don't have the chemicals in it, and then they come in different scents, like tea tree oil, because the oil is actually in it. So Dr. Bronner's, Tom's, Secret, and Hello, and Baby Organics. Those are, and Enos. Those are the products that I use.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I
Chene,
don't
how
see
you
anyone.
doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, just checking in with you guys. I'm hearing what you're talking about. For my deodorant, I use this thing called crystal mineral deodorant. It's like a mineral, it's a hard mineral like a rock, and it's used for my deodorant, and it seems to work for me. And it's all natural, no aluminum, it's unscented, no byproducts, it's just basically all natural. Have you ever heard about that?
I have not, so thank you for sharing. Can you put that in the chat for me?
Okay, I will. I will.
And
And
also,
listen,
and also my
I kind of,
WhatsApp.
yes, I kind of like dropped in kind of late. Exactly what was your particular cancer that you were dealing with?
Non-Hodgkin's follicular lymphoma.
Okay, just as a
So,
form of information. Yeah, go ahead.
so all of my lymph nodes,
Mm.
especially in the abdomen area, were cancerous. There was one in my neck, I found out later, and then a few under my armpits. But basically, my lymphatic system was being attacked.
And going natural to help you also in the cure or the treatment.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
Just curious and just wondering. Thanks.
You're welcome. Anyone else has any questions? I don't see any raised hands. I'm going to check the chat, make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't see anything. So just gonna wrap it up now. Let's see. I think I
Hi,
just got,
Chene.
hi.
Yes, you said you had mentioned that you did immunotherapy
Yes.
as opposed to chemotherapy.
Mhm.
I guess I understand why, because of how strenuous it could be on the body with the chemotherapy. But I just want to know, I will do my research, of course, but I just want to know more about the immunotherapy, pretty much, if you could get into more detail as to why you decided to do it, because you just touched on it, you know?
Mhm.
And so, if you could just get into detail just a little bit more about the immunotherapy, you know, things of that nature, any advice regarding it, you know?
Sure, I sure can. So what I'll do now is jump into my story. 2 years prior to me being diagnosed, for those of you that I don't have on Facebook and haven't seen my snapshot, I'm going to keep it concise. 2 years ago, prior to my diagnosis, I got home from work, just picked up Isaiah from Shanika, who watched her during my work day. And I want to say she was somewhere about 8 months, 9 months. And I was prior to this a clean eater. So I wanted her to have a clean existence too. So I made her food from scratch and I breastfed her until she was slightly over 2. But coming home that day, my mom came in and she told me that she had a dream that I came in, I told her that they told me I had cancer. And I just started crying because the only thing I could think of is who is going to do all the things that I'm doing for my daughter, who's going to make a food from scratch, who's going to breastfeed her. This was my initial thought. I didn't even think of anything else. And my mom said immediately, we're not claiming that. We're praying and God is going to be your protector. And she prayed over me that day. And I would say that I probably held on to that for maybe about a week. And then I went on with life as usual. I never even thought about it. It went completely out of my head. And I just moved on. last June, well, let me back up. I go, as most women do, and get my physicals, my blood work and everything done every year. So I do mine in January. Did my annuals in January. Everything was fine. Everything came back normal as it usually does. We relocated to a different city in February. And because my daughter's birthday is in March, I decided that now then was a good time to change my doctors over, change her doctors over because we were not going to be going anywhere. We were not going to be traveling back to our original doctors. In doing that, everyone wanted their look at you, right? Whether it's for insurance purposes or just to, your first visit, which I was fine with. I was about to change jobs, so I knew it wouldn't be a problem with coding and it wouldn't cost me much. So I went to a new physician. She went to her new doctor. And because of some things, I ended up getting referred to a gynecologist. Well, it was a general practitioner, and then I went to a gynecologist, which I had already made the appointment to see the gynecologist because I do both. I have my primary care physician, and then I have my gynecologist, and then I have my chiropractor. So all of these doctors work in tandem for me. And when I went to my gynecologist, he started pressing on my stomach, and the way the doctors do. He said, "Do you feel anything?" And I said, "No, I'm fine." And he said, "This doesn't hurt?" I was like, "No." And of course, when they keep, and he did it a few times, like, "This doesn't hurt?" I said, "No." And of course, when they keep asking you, "Does this hurt?" Then you start like wondering, like, okay, what's going on? So he said, he said, "I don't like the way that this feels. So I'm gonna send you we're gonna do an ultrasound." So we did an ultrasound. There was something there, but it was inconclusive. But he wasn't satisfied. So he said, "We're gonna send you for a CAT scan." I did the CAT scan. When I went in for the CAT scan, like a week later, she asked about a different area. She was like, "Where was he asking you?" I said, "He was asking me up here by my ribs." And she said, "No, I don't see anything." And to me, I've never heard a tech that does this type of scanning talk as much as she did. Mostly they just scan you and they don't say anything. So she started searching around and she's asking me, and she's like, "Well, I see something down here." And so I asked her what. She said, "Well, it'll be in the report." So she sent me back to him. When he called me in, he said, "Okay, so we see something." He says, "But I don't want you to be alarmed." He said, "The rumor is tumor until the answer is cancer." And for some reason, I busted out laughing. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, he's rhyming. And my gynecologist, and it's the first time I've had a male gynecologist. He is, I would say, about 6'5", bald-headed, burly Black man, and he's doing the sing-song rhyme inside the room, which for some reason just tickled me. And so I was like, the rumor is tumor until the answer is cancer. And I was like, I'm holding on to that. I'm not thinking about anything else. The rumor is tumor until the answer is cancer. And so he sent me for a PET scan. So I went for the PET scan. And then he called me and he said, "Okay, so I'm sending you to this oncologist." And I thought, uh-oh. And to answer Melvin's question, well, not just yet. So I said, "Oh, okay." So I went on a fast. I am a believer. And so my immediate go-to was to go talk to Daddy. It's like, I don't know what's going on. When I say Daddy, I mean my Heavenly Father. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're seeing, but I know that I am in your hands. And so whatever it is, it's going to be fine. And I went in, they did the PET scan. He called, he said he's referring me to the oncologist. The oncologist office called and they set up the schedule. So 2 weeks later, I was scheduled to go in and see the oncologist for the first time. Fasted for a week. I'm walking I'm hiking. I am doing this dance walk thing with my sisters on YouTube that Shanika referred me to. So I'm doing all these things. I don't feel anything. There's no pain. I feel completely normal. Tired, but who's not tired, right? So I feel completely normal. I have a near 4-year-old that's very active, but we're doing everything that we normally do. So I'm just saying all that to say I didn't feel any particular way that would have indicated to me that my body was in a life or death fight, right? So the night before I went to the oncologist, I was lying in my bed and expressing my fears to my God. And I heard distinctly in my mind, let your food be your medicine. And I thought to myself, I know where that's coming from. When my brother was diagnosed with cancer, and after we went through all of the treatments, I remember sitting in my sister's living room. This is years after, with my dad, and we were watching something on YouTube, something educational on food, and they talked about vitamin C infusions directly into the body to cure cancer. And I looked at my dad, and they said that the only side effect was wooziness, right? So I looked at my dad. I said, if we had only known, we wouldn't have submitted him to, in my mind, we wouldn't have submitted him to radiation and chemotherapy, right? If we had only known that this may have been a choice. But it wasn't, that information wasn't available then. So I said, oh, I know where that's coming from. It's coming from me watching all these things and knowing how to eat food properly to have a healing effect as opposed to killing my body. So I thought, let my food be my medicine. Then it clicked. And I started to cry. Honestly, I was like, if he's telling me to let my food be my medicine, then that means I have cancer. Right? So that night, I had a time in my bed. And then I got up, I washed my face, I went to work, and then I left and I went to my first appointment with my oncologist. My mom was with me and my daughter. And when I went in, I went upstairs. She says, okay, so we're looking at it. We need to do a biopsy, but you have cancer. And it's the form of cancer that you have is non-Hodgkin's follicular lymphoma. And she gave me a breakdown of what that meant, that it's in my lymph nodes, and they'll do a biopsy where they will take a sample out, see how bad it is. But all of my lymph nodes were enlarged, some of them 5 times bigger, the majority of them at least 3 times bigger than their normal size. So she said that, so the next step is finding out how severe it is. From the scans, they determined that it was stage 2 and that the type that I had only had 3 stages. So she wanted to set me up for chemotherapy and radiation. And to answer your question, Samantha, I told her, no, this was in June. I had my family's reunion in July in Turks and Caicos Islands, and my birthday in September, which I had already planned to go out of the country for. And so I told her, I don't want to do chemotherapy and radiation because, of course, she listed, she said, so we're going to do chemotherapy and radiation. You're young enough to survive it. You're young enough and you're healthy enough. When I walked into the office, she did the checks and she was like, does this hurt? Does that hurt? I'm like, no. And that morning I got up and I walked 3 miles. So I felt good. I felt great, right? So I told her, I was like, I walked 3 miles, and they all kept looking at me like, this doesn't make any sense. And so I told her, I said, so because I feel strongly that she did not push me into doing chemotherapy and radiation, because I was in a physical state where she felt I was safe enough to make that call. Okay. So she said, I said, I don't want to do anything before June, because any treatment is going to there's going to be some side effects for the treatment. Immunotherapy. So most of us are familiar with the chemotherapy and radiation. Immunotherapy just came about a few years ago, from what I understand. And it is first given intravenously to see how your body takes the medication. If you have no reactions, then they start giving it to you by injection into your abdomen. The abdomen is, for most of us, the fattiest part of our body. So they inject it in, and it's a very slow injection. For me, I had to take 7 milliliters of, I think it was 7, I'm not sure, but it took 7 minutes for them to manually. So the nurse is sitting there with the pillow, and she's slowly squeezing the needle with the medication in it into my body. As it is going in, it feels like fire, right? So they do it based on your tolerance, but it goes in and it works itself throughout your system, through your tissue. So it's done intravenously first. That takes about 8 to 10 hours, so your whole day, and then it's injected in for your future treatments. Immunotherapy is more targeted. So when they do the biopsy, they take the cells that should be fighting. So your immune system basically is not recognizing that there's a threat. But there should be some activity, but it's not enough. And so what they do is they find those cells that are trying to fight the cancer. And when they extract it, they basically multiply that, see what reacts to it. And then they choose a medication that is for your particular type. So to me, it's more targeted. When it comes to chemotherapy and radiation, it is a very aggressive treatment meant to wipe it out completely, right? It is a last-ditch effort to save you. And so that's why it has such a hard effect on your body, because it kills indiscriminately, where immunotherapy is targeted, right? The reason I chose immunotherapy is because God already told me to let my food be my medicine. So that to me was priority. But I did not feel that he did not want me to take treatment at all. So I felt comfortable joining my new thinking that I hadn't really put into action yet, but letting my food be my medicine, with the action of taking immunotherapy, because my doctor did suggest it. She said, well, what we can do is, you're going away in June. I want to see you back in 3 months. We're going to look at your blood. By that time, we'll have your biopsy. We'll see really where we stand. And as long as you're coming back to do your blood work and we're doing your biopsy, I'm fine with that. And then we'll go from there. So I went on my trip, came back, did the biopsy. Then I went to see her, and the report, and then that gave me time to get a second opinion. So this isn't the first time that I've had a cancer diagnosis. In 2003, I was told that I had cancer in my ovaries, and I was sent to Nassau to have surgery. When I went into Nassau to do the surgery, my dad took me. The doctor told my dad that he was not performing surgery on me that day, that he knew my family and that we were a praying family. So he was sending me home, and he had rescheduled the surgery for 6 weeks. He said, so do what y'all do, and I'll see you in 6 weeks. And so we did what we do. We prayed. I fasted. I worried, and I prayed, and I fasted. And when I went back to see him again, scheduled to have surgery, we went in, got undressed, they did the ultrasound. And that too, they had told me that my ovaries were enlarged because they were cancerous. When I did the ultrasound, she told me we were doing the ultrasound so that they could mark out where they wanted to go in. And this was like the surgery prep. She left, she came back in, she told me to get dressed. I came out and went into the doctor's office where my dad was sitting, and the doctor told us that everything was normal, that there was no need to do the surgery. And that was 6 weeks after being diagnosed, and I never had a problem since with that area. So when I got diagnosed, when she said that, and I went out of the office, I called my best friend, I told him, and then I went downstairs into the parking garage. And by then I was like, okay, I'm in fight mode. So when she told me, it was more of at the moment that she told me, it was confirmation, but it was also, I need your information. What are you seeing as a doctor? What are the risks? What are the benefits? And so she went through, she said, chemotherapy, it's so hard on the body that you're going to look different. Your 3-year-old daughter may not recognize you after this. She's going to notice that, she's going to know that you're going through something. Immunotherapy, she won't know. The side effect is you're anemic. You're going to become more anemic. And those naps that you have that you're already feeling that you're needing, you're going to definitely need them. You may, as you get more of the medication into your system, you may need to take time off. And so they all had their pros and cons. I went through cancer education for immunotherapy. There were other things that were going to be an issue too if I did have a reaction. So it wasn't completely free of reactions. I could have had, I'm laughing, but not in a funny way. I could have had a skin reaction, which would basically look as if my skin was melting off from the inside. And that would spread over the whole body until it caused me to die from infection. I did have skin reactions, but it was nothing like what they had, what it could have been. So I had reactions, but God kept it at a level that it wasn't something that I couldn't handle. And I'm smiling now because as I say it, the scripture comes to mind that he won't put more on you than you can bear. So for those of you that have or are going through this and have had severe reactions, I wouldn't necessarily say, look at me as if, oh, I'm stronger or I had a better walk. It may just be, in fact, that you're stronger than I am, and he knows what you can handle with him, and he knows what I can handle. And so we went with the immunotherapy. I had skin reactions, but nothing severe. I ended up having to go to a dermatologist. I ended up having to use heating pads. My days got hard. I went from being able to walk 30 minutes to struggling to get through 12 minutes. But I never stopped. So after the diagnosis, I walked outside, I told my mom. And when I opened the door, I said, Mom, they're saying that I have cancer. I said, it's cancer. And she was on the phone with another minister, Minister Cheryl. And I didn't know it at the time, but she said, oh, and she's smiling. And I was, because the ride from the elevator from the 11th floor down to the parking garage, I just talked to God. And I felt such at peace because he had told me the night before. And I didn't have to worry because he had already told me. I could have used the moment to get down. And when we left the parking garage, I called the rest of my family on a call. Called my dad, my brother Melvin, Shante, my brother LeBron's, Sarah was there, my sister Shanika, and we did which is funny. We all got on the phone at the same time, which doesn't always happen, but it did at that moment. We all were on the phone at the same time. And at first they couldn't hear me. When I first said it, they didn't hear me. And when I said it, so when they started talking, they were like, what? And I got choked up. I got choked up. And then I said it again. And because of their confidence and because of their saying things like, oh, we're not worried about this, we're trusting God, their conversation builds my faith. They empowered me. I grew stronger and stronger throughout the conversation. I told them what my plan was, to do what I had planned to do and put off doing anything right now. My dad wanted me to send the report, so we got the second opinion after the biopsy. The biopsy came back with 85% cancer within the biopsy, and then they moved me up to stage 3. So now we understood, okay, this is a real fight. And sometimes it's like that, right? God puts you in a situation where your back is against the wall and he is the only one that can make it right, right? That's sometimes how it is. Some people credit that to the devil, or the devil is after me. I don't give him any credit because he doesn't have any power. All power is in God. So everything that I went through was because God was taking me through it. And if he took me to it, he was going to see me through it. And so all I needed to do was be tuned into him, find out what I was supposed to do. And that for me came in different forms. Like my chiropractor, every time I go in, him saying, oh, hey, I saw something. You said that you do veggies. Be careful of the pea protein, because pea protein, God was everywhere. I saw him in everything. So I went into the doctor's office one day and it said, and then there was confirmation kept coming. I went into the doctor's office and scrolling through their screens, it said 30 minutes of exercise helped the lymphatic system fight disease. And I thought, wow, so I got to keep moving. I have to keep moving. And it wasn't anyone in particular speaking to me, but at the moment, I just looked up at the TV. And so I take nothing as coincidence. I see it as God designed. I was here at the moment, in that office for this reason. So after my initial diagnosis, I went back to my gynecologist to have to follow up with him. He was unaware and he said, oh, so what did they say? And so I said, they didn't send you the report. So he said, no. I said, well, the answer is cancer. And so he was writing up my notes. He spun around, he looked at me. And the next thing he does shocks me. He slides his chair over to me. I'm sitting on the table. He grabs my hand and he starts praying down heaven. By the time he is done, I am washed away in tears. One, because I realized that he doesn't know me aside from 3 visits in his office, that he put his job at risk, because what if I had been somebody else, somebody that didn't believe in God or somebody that didn't believe in prayer? He's not supposed to do that, right? And so the only thing I could do is say, thank you. I say, you really blessed my soul. And he said, this is what we do. This is what we do. And then he slid back over to his desk. And when I tell you, he prayed healing, he prayed over my mind, he prayed over my body. And then walking out, he told me that his wife was a 13-year survivor of breast cancer. He said, and there was something about me in the initial meeting that he felt, he said, I have to take care of her. I said, really? He's like, yeah, I don't know what it was, but I felt that I needed to take care of you. So I had this insatiable desire to keep digging. Like, I don't know what this is, but I need to look at it. They're saying it's nothing, but I need to look at it. And so he kept sending me for scan after scan after scan. And keep in mind, nothing about me said that I had cancer. So I started thinking of all those people that I've heard of in the past that you hear get a diagnosis, and then shortly after that, they're gone, right? And you think, wow, this person was just diagnosed 30 days ago, and now we're attending their homegoing service. And I used to wonder, how could that happen? Like, is it that they get the diagnosis and they become so disheartened that emotionally everything just erupts in their body and it takes over them? But no, I was walking around filled with cancer, exercising, eating healthy, just didn't know. I did not know. And had he not been as diligent, had the Spirit of God not continued to pester him, had it not been God designed for me to change doctors and choose that particular doctor for whatever reason. I don't pick male gynecologists. I have never. And I saw his name and I was like, let me look at his reviews. And I looked at his reviews and I picked him. Had all these things not been prearranged by my father, who had told me 2 years ago what I would be challenged with, had I not been open, not even intentionally open to the leading of the Spirit, and intentionally open to the leading of the Spirit, it could have gone a completely different way. It could have gone a completely different way. So, Samantha, I hope I answered your question. I chose immunotherapy over chemotherapy because I thought that was a match. I felt that God had already told me what to do, which was let my food be my medicine. And I thought that immunotherapy was the right partner for that type of path that I was on. And to answer Melvin's question, when I first found out, when the Spirit first told me what I needed to do, and realization dawned on me, I fell apart. And I was alone in my bedroom, and I just let it wash over me, and I cried until I couldn't cry anymore. And and then by the time I got to the doctor's office and walked out, I was empowered by my family. And that was my journey. That's where I was. And don't know why it happened. It was not always easy. The days that I did feel tired in my body affected my mental state as well. So you have to be careful with that. When you feel tired and you feel worn down, it's easy to feel worn down emotionally. So it was a struggle to keep the balance, but I had the support. And when I tell you, it's so important to have the right support. And it's so important to let go of the wrong type of support, walk away from anything that's toxic. But that is my story. God kept me. And because he kept me, I am here. And because the Spirit wants us to know what our plans are, for those of you who are believers, before the Spirit wants us to know, the Spirit wants us to know what God's plan is for us and what's up ahead. And so for anyone that is not a believer, I would say the one thing that saved my life above everything else first was being a believer. That you have to find a way to communicate, establish open communication with God. That is the only way to get through. This isn't just about cancer. It's about how to live your life, how to live your relationships, how to handle debt, how to handle educational stress, going through school, how to study. They say that Bible tells you everything, and it really does. And luckily for us, we're living in an age where you can just type in scriptures on healing, scriptures on fasting, scriptures on prayer, scriptures on anything that you can imagine, whatever your word is, whatever your struggle is, and you latch on to that. And you can even type in promises in scripture about and know what God says you have access to. So always, always, always. And then I hope I don't, I'm going to wrap this up. My sister is telling me that I have several questions in the chat, so I'll let her read them to me and then I'll answer them. But I hope, and this is probably going to step on toes, and it just is what it is. I will say this, that it is not just about praying. It's not just about reading your Bible. It's not just about going to church. You can do all those things and still not be victorious in your fight, because it's action and faith. It's prayer and faith. You have to make real what you're saying. And that comes with making sure, it's like having a conversation with me right now. If we're on the phone and there's so much background noise, I can't hear what you're saying. It's not, I could be speaking and telling you things, but if you don't declutter and you don't get rid of everything that is in the middle of you and the one that created you, and particularly you, then you won't hear what he has to say about how to take care of whatever the situation is that you're in, whatever situation that you're finding yourself in. So praying is not enough. When you pray, what did he tell you to do? When I pray, and I wasn't even praying in particularly that moment, he said, let your food be your medicine. That's what I did. We all know that if we eat McDonald's every day, it's not going to work. That is like putting diesel in your Lexus. It is not going to work, right? So it's important that you figure out whatever your thing is. If it's a marriage problem, you know that giving the silent treatment is not going to work. It's communication. And God tells us that, and God tells us in his word that we are to treat each other as ourselves, love each other as we love ourselves. So if you wouldn't treat yourself that way, then you shouldn't treat me this way. So that's why I'm saying it's not just about cancer. It's about a whole life. It's an entirety of your system, because you cannot separate one system from the next. And then on top of that, once you get through something, my best friend told me, you beat it. It's when I told him that my cancer is gone, we celebrated. And then he said, in the very next text, it's not done. This is just the beginning. Continue what you're doing. So what I found out later, I said, okay, I'm going to continue drinking my bush tea. I'm going to continue eating the way that I eat. I'm realizing that I can't eat the clean meats, because my body has changed. So you have to listen to your body. Even though realizing that my body changed, I went with a friend on her visit to a Brazilian steakhouse, and I ate meat. And I tell you, that tore me up. It tore me up because I knew better. So it's not perfection, it's progression. But if you don't keep doing the work, if you're not listening, if you're not learning, like anything else, you're not listening, you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not open to what the Spirit says, then you're not going to be able to deal with any battle that comes your way. And the battles are promised to come. The battles are promised to come. So find out what the playbook is. Find out what he has specifically for you. Specifically for you. I'm not married. I don't have the marital problems. I don't have the marital joys. So he and I don't talk about marriage. I had cancer, and he told me, let your food be your medicine. And I know where it came from. It came from me ingesting all that stuff. So some of the things, make sure you're not so high-minded and spiritual that you think that a word from God can only come through particular sources. Because it could be your neighbor down the street that sees you and says, hey, I saw you walking, maybe you need to do this and what's going on. And they have something. And then it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. I learned even after my best friend told me, and I'll close with this, and Shanika will give me those questions. So if you have questions, put them in the chat or raise your hand. I found out later, which none of my doctors said to me. So those of you that are fighting cancer or anything where you're on heavy medicated treatments, what I didn't find out from any of them that they didn't say particularly to me was that the lymphatic system struggles greatly after cancer therapy. So you get your therapy, the cancer is eradicated, and then your lymphatic system, which is your basic immunity, it helps with your immunity. Everything goes into lymph nodes, it's purged, it goes into the liver, it's purged. So your system starts to struggle after treatment. So the thing that has saved you is now the thing that is preventing your body from doing what it needs to do. So how do you restore your lymphatic system? 30 minutes of walking. So if you have gained the victory, yes, if you have gained the victory, then you need to continue, as my friend told me, continue doing the work. It is not done. It is not done. And recognize that there are some changes in your body, some things that you even may have been able to do that you have to now start limiting. So listen to the spirit, connect with the spirit. And it's so simple. As a matter of fact, I'm going to close with this. For those of you that are on the line that need clarity in the direction, need clarity, need God to speak to you, need God to tell you right now what you need to know for you, for no one else. I want to lead you in prayer so that you're able to clear out everything. It doesn't mean that you're going to feel any different. It doesn't mean that you're going to feel like you're wearing a white robe. It just has taken you to the level where God can speak to you. So if you want to pray that prayer with me, you can pray with me right now, and everybody can do so. Father God, thank you for this opportunity to be here right now. I confess that there are some things in my life that do not align with your will and your way. Forgive me for stepping out of alignment with you. Come now into my heart, lead me and guide me in your way that works for me. I am open to you. I receive you. I submit and surrender. Teach me so that I can live a victorious life. Amen. Is that simple? It is that simple. And for any of you that have prayed that prayer just now, I am so happy because it just means that now you are going to be in a avenue where God can speak and download to you. This is a lot of information, but he can download to you specifically what you need for you. So now we're going to open up. Shanika will read the questions to me. If you have any other questions or you want to raise your hand, once we get through with the questions, we'll go to those hands that are raised and we'll wrap it up. Saya, let her come here. So there's a statement that I need to, they say out of the mouth of babes, right? Whenever we go out to eat as a family, my daughter reminds me when we're ordering, because she's never on my watch. She has never had meat. And my sister wants me to let you guys know that even she, God uses to remind me not to eat meat. So I'm just gonna let her say hello. Say hi, Zai. Look, right here. Say hi. See all the people there?
Mommy,
Yes.
can I get an
Yes, you can. She doesn't help me in the chocolate area though. She's definitely inherited my need for chocolate. So Shanika has a questions. Okay, so supplements. Aside from the bush tea, I did the turkey tail mushroom, which I will post a link. I got that from my cousin Acneil. I will post a link to that Amazon product. I think I can do that on Facebook. If I can, I may get in trouble, but I don't know. I'll post a link on Facebook to that particular one. I did that. I also went to a natural health store. They have something which is akin to, there was a traveling, I almost said traveling circus. This is not a circus. It was a traveling trade show, let's call it that. I came to the Bahamas a couple of years ago before I moved to the US. And they had all these Asian shops, I think, that they set up. I don't know what to term it, but there was a guy where we did irisology, I think is what it was called, where he looked into your iris and was able to tell you what was wrong in your system. And it was like $20. I did something akin to that last year after my diagnosis, but it was a hand thing. And I put my hand on it. And after about 20 minutes, it told me what I was lacking. I did that the first time in Freeport off of the recommendation of Pastor Saunders. He went in and he got a report and he came back and he was raving about it. And I went in and he actually identified that I had scoliosis. So there was some truth in it. When I went to the one here, they put me on supplements that I did as well prior to doing treatment. Once I started treatment, I had run that course. So I did those for 2 months prior to doing treatment. And that list was specific to me, but there are some things that I think everybody can use. It was ashwagandha was one. There were some oils, but those were specific to me. I'll put those lists in, but for those of you that are in the US that has access to a natural store, I think it may be something that you can get done online too, but I think you have to put your hand on the machine. So, and it somehow figures out what you're lacking. But when I did it here after being diagnosed, it actually came back telling me that there was something wrong with my lymph nodes. So it was spot on too. That one was spot on. So I'll put a link. She did send me a breakdown of what I needed. So I will put a link in on my Facebook page to that site. And maybe if there's a group of you or someone that has a doctor's office or somebody that wants to offer this, she charged me $20. I came in, I put my hand on there, it took all my readings, it gave her a printout of the supplements that I needed, and she handed the paper to me. That was it. And it was like $20. I don't know what her investment was for the machine, but hey, that's an entrepreneurial idea for those of you that are out there. And maybe if you can get a supplement or partner with a natural store that will have these supplements in that you see that come up regularly for people, it's $20. I mean, you can charge what you want to charge, but that's what she charged me. And it took me about 10 minutes. I got my mom to do it as well. And so I had a list of things that she told me. She's an older lady. Her and her husband have a very quaint store where I get my alkaline water from as well. And it's in Conyers, Georgia, for anyone that's here. And she told me she and her husband do it every 3 months, and they've taken it probably 70 times. They're in their 80s and they look to be about 40, 45, 50. They look very well. They live very well. So I'd encourage anybody to do something like that. So I will post the link to that site for those of you that are outside of the US and maybe there's a way to do it online or you want to order the machine yourself. And I'll also post some of the supplements and why I needed those supplements. And then I'll post the link for the turkey tail as well, which I got off of Amazon. So the next question. So my cancer type was non-Hodgkin's follicular lymphoma stage 3. What part did fasting? So fasting, what part did fasting play? Fasting, for those of you that are believers, this wasn't I'm fasting so that I can hear from God. This was something that he told me to do. And let me say this first. After I got my all clear that the cancer had been completely eradicated, before I went in, I fell apart again. And I sent a message out to my prayer partners, and I told them, I need you guys to pray for me because I am not feeling happy. I'm not there. I knew that the report was coming. I knew that what I believed, but I needed him to help my unbelief, right? And again, the night before, the spirit said to me while in bed, after treatment, fast 3 days. And so I was like, oh, so that means I still have cancer, right? That's what's in my mind, because he's telling me after treatment, because the thing was, we're going to hit it 8 weeks, once a week, get these high dosage infusions once a week for 8 weeks. We're going to hit it hard. We're going to stop for 8 weeks. We're going to see what's going on. And then we're going to go at it again. If it's not where we want it to be. So him telling me that I needed to fast 3 days after treatment in my mind meant when I go into the office in the morning, they're going to tell me that it looks better, but we still got work to do. So I was distraught. I didn't like that. I really didn't. And I told him I was frustrated and I was angry and it should have been done. And then I go into the office and they tell me my body responded better than anybody could have thought, and there's no more cancer. So I'm like, why are you telling me? So in my mind, I didn't believe what she was saying. So I said, I started asking all these questions. Well, what do you mean? Like, I heard her, but I didn't hear her. Because it didn't match up with what he was telling me. But at the end, I was like, oh, so I don't have to do treatment anymore. And she said, no. Yeah, we're gonna keep you on treatment for every other month. You're gonna get 1 infusion. And I said, well, why? She said, well, you're young, your body can handle it. You've come this far, you can do it. And so I submitted. I said, okay, I'll go ahead. And I walked over and I did my treatment. And then the thought came to me again, after treatment, take 3 days of fasting. I thought, this is what he meant. He didn't mean that I wasn't cancer free. He meant after treatment, fast. So fasting for me wasn't to connect me with God. It wasn't to turn away my plate so that I can hear clearly from God. It wasn't to deny my body physically so that I can grow spiritually. Fasting for me was to replenish, put my body into a state where it was replenishing my cells. It was getting rid of the toxins. It was allowing my body to flush. So the intermittent fasting that I found in the research that my oncologist gave me, who was also a believer, she told the research was vegetarian diet with fasting, intermittent fasting. And the way that I use intermittent fasting was I would stagger my meals. So I may have breakfast today, and then I won't eat until 8-10 hours later. I'm not very good at like tracking calories and tracking. That's why keto diets and that kind of thing just doesn't work for me. So it wasn't a hard fast rule. I'm going to eat at this time, but I would eat breakfast and maybe eat dinner. And then the next day I would skip breakfast and then eat lunch. So I just lengthened the time in between when I was eating. And then I would not eat and just drink so that my body had time, because digestion takes a lot of energy in your body. And so my body is then able to work on other things. So it's purging. So fasting played the role of purging my system, purging my lymph nodes, refreshing my cells, washing away all the toxins, washing away all the food that I ingested. giving my body the ability to take the nutrients that it needed to take from the food that I was eating. So it was garbage out, basically. That is the role that fasting played for me, garbage out. And the water was important. It was the flushing system. So if you're coming in late, half of your body weight in ounces in water daily. That's for anybody, half of your body weight. So I had to drink 96 ounces. It isn't really half my body weight, but who's counting? But that's what she told me to do, and that's what I did. So next question.
Are you vegan now?
I am not vegan. So there are very distinct, like every grouping of people, there are very distinct definitions within the group. So my understanding is vegetarian is you mostly eat plant-based, and then pescatarian is, which I thought this is what I claim. I eat fish along with my veggies. And then vegan is a complete lifestyle. I may be closer to that in some aspect where because of me using things that are chemical free, now means that a lot of the products that I use may be vegan because some of the vegans just, they eliminate anything that has to do with animal testing. They're not wearing any animal products, so that's their clothing. Just everything is not just about their food. So I am not vegan. I may be close, I may be more on the borderline than I've been before because of the food and stuff that I eat now, and the products that I use, but I'm not all around just staying away from those sort of things. I'm only staying away from what I feel the spirit is leading me to stay away from. And some of those things may not be what you need to stay away from. So it's to each his own in that aspect.
Were you drinking?
Was I drinking the bush tea during my treatment? Yes. I have a container of the bush tea right now. I drank the bush tea the entire time, and I'm still drinking the bush tea because it's everything. It's immunity, which going through treatment knocks your immunity down. So it's building my immunity. It's getting me the vitamin A, the vitamin C. I'm getting the iron, which helps with those of us who are anemic. And I go back and forth with that. If you're feeling really tired or all the time, somebody said something about eating ice. I don't know. But if you find that you need that energy boost, the bush tea is good. It's relaxing. It's cholesterol, sugar, stress balancing it. I mean, it's so many things. So yes, I was drinking it during treatment. I would have at least, and this is the small one, I would have at least three canisters of it a day. I try to get my intake in. I think this one is about 20 ounces, but the other one that I have is 32 ounces. And so I had to do 96 ounces a day. So I would drink 2 or 3 of these and then water in between. So yes, bush tea every day, bush tea all day. It is going to be a way of life for me. I just got another shipment from my friend in Antigua, Carol, to who I'm so grateful for. And then I go to the farmer's market and stock up. But yep, bush tea the entire time, every day without fail. And they made sure, my best friend and his family made sure I had it every day. Next.
How it affected your day-to-day.
So the importance of surrounding yourself with positive, believing people, how it affects you daily, and going forward in life, I think was the question. I said, I touched on this earlier. I think I may have spent more time on that slide than anything else, but a toxic environment externally creates a toxic environment internally. When you think you're when you think you're handling things, because you're masking or you're compromising or you're just shrugging it off, doesn't mean that it's not doing something to you internally. We as a society, I believe, have gotten very good at wearing masks and pretending to be strong. And we don't necessarily always turn over to God what he says. His word declares that we are, those of us who are heavy laden, we're supposed to give our burdens to him. We're supposed to talk to him. We're supposed to release it to him and then move on, right? We're not good at that. And work, life at home, life in church, unfortunately, can present us with environments that do not do our souls well. So when you are challenged, so it's enough to balance when you are well within, right? You're not fighting anything. It's harder. It's much harder to balance when you are struggling in your health or you're struggling in your emotions, or worse, struggling mentally, okay? Being in a toxic environment can and does affect the functioning of your body, your overall health, right? Words like good cheer, that's in the Bible. Think on these things. And the things that he said to think on are not, think on the prophetic word, think on what thus said is, think on things that are lovely. It's these things that make you feel warm and good inside. And those things are important because it affects your temple, right? So surrounding myself with people that were positive, disconnecting from things that were triggers for me personally, people for me, my world became, and my world isn't that big, my world became very small, very small. It became very small. My interactions became very small. I did not realize until somewhere along the end of my treatment that emotionally I felt it felt for me when you're fighting with excuse me, when you're fighting with your health. Like for me, my cancer was within my lymph nodes. When I got emotional, when I got angry, I felt literally as if there was a dagger in my stomach turning, like I was in literal pain. And I just had to cut it off. Like, okay, I can't continue this conversation. I have to leave it alone. I need to walk away. I need to create that space. So be comfortable with saying no. Be comfortable with walking away from situations that aren't doing your body well. You have to listen to you. And the Holy Spirit is always going to tell you that thing that we call, for women, they say it's intuition. For men, they say it's that gut feeling. And then some of us just say, something told me. It's not something. It's yes, it's your intuition, it's your gut feeling. That's the Holy Spirit within you telling you, listen to that, okay? Start training yourself to hear what God is saying to you. And it's not always in what the pastor says. It's in you opening the Bible yourself and reading something, and later on you're doing something else and that pops up in your head, right? It's you just sitting still and you feeling, don't go down that road. No. Take this other way home today. And we question those things. Sometimes we listen and then later on, you may not even hear anything, but sometimes you hear like, wow, there was an accident. Boy, I just missed that accident. I was going that way and I decided to go. Something told me to go. No, that's something. It's a person. It is the Holy Spirit. So when you find yourself in relationships and environments that are not conducive to what you're going through, Be okay with yourself enough to say, not right now. In this season of my life, I can't do that. I can't wage war here and wage war here at the same time. You have to pick your battles. When Jehoshaphat was surrounded by enemies, and Elisha, I think it was Shanika, the prophet at his time, was dying. He ran to him because he was the one that used to give him the strategy. He had the prophet had the ability of hearing the plans of the enemy and was able to tell the king, this is what you do, this is what you need to do, this is how you need to move. When this man started dying, the king was like, oh my God, I am losing my connection. Like, I need to know what to do. I have enemies on my right, I have enemies on my left, I have enemies in the front of me. And he went to him and he said, what do I need to do? And the prophet gave him a word. And he said to him, open the window and shoot the arrow to the east. That was a directive. You cannot wage war on the east, on the west, on the north, on the south. And you need the Holy Spirit to tell you what you need to target. And so one thing I can say, going through something like this, going through any challenge in life, you need to surround yourself with people that are believers, that can help with you when you find what that target is. I tell people, when I tell them to pray for me, I give them specifics. I need you to pray for this in particular. I need you to pray that I have peace in my mind as I go through this challenge. I need you to pray that God heals my body like he said he would as I go through this challenge. I don't ever just tell people that, hey, I need you to pray for me. One, because I don't know what they're going to pray. Two, because if you do it to me, I don't know what to pray. I'm going to be specific. So it's important to surround yourself with people that are for you, that understand where you are, understand that some days are going to be up and some days are going to be down. Surround yourself with people that are watching over you. My best friend used to watch over me, and he admitted one time, he said, it's hard to see you as sick because you don't look sick, right? There are people that see you, see what you're doing in life, see that you have the job and you have the car and you have the house and you have the family, you have the kids, and they chalk it up to, oh, you're good, right? Because it's surface. You need to surround yourself. And those people sometimes, because you seem good, they just want to take from you, but they don't know what you're struggling with at home. They don't know the challenges that you're facing. And some people are toxic. Some people in your environment are only close to you to get what they want from you. And when you are going through a challenge like cancer, something that is a life or death situation, ridding yourself of emotional stress and toxic people is paramount. You need to do that. You need to do that and surround yourself. Do not exist in isolation. Nobody should exist in isolation. It is not good. Surround yourself. When you take one thing away, replace it. When you take a negative away, replace it with a positive. They tell us that in breaking habits. If you break one habit, fill it in with another thing. The Bible says it this way: if you clean the house, but don't put anything in it, it's going to return with 7 things that are stronger, right? So you need to fill that space. Find a group, find your support system, find people that truly love and care for you. Get rid of the toxic people. They will do you no good. Get rid of the toxic environments. It will do you no good. I changed jobs, and I don't think, had the diagnosis come before, that I would have been able to survive cancer being at that job. There are certain things that were going on in my life that I knew if I was dealing with cancer at the time, relationally, I wouldn't have survived. Job-wise, I wouldn't have survived, because some of these things are giants, right? That the enemy sends to entangle you and trap you. You have to free yourself. And it only takes a stone. It takes a walk away. It takes an action. It takes saying, nope, this is where you come and no further. You have to protect your peace. You have to protect your peace. God says that if it be possible to live at peace, if it be possible is your responsibility. There's an if, because it's not always possible. That is not always possible. So protect your peace. It's for your health. It's for your survival. And if someone doesn't like it, hey, better they be upset than you be dead. Next question.
Bush,
Bush tea.
what is,
The bush tea. So the bush tea, I call it bush tea, and I think a lot of islanders call it bush tea because it's just bush. It's the leaves, literally the leaves off of the tree, that you put in a pot with some water, boil it, and you drink the boiled water. And it's taking out the nutrients. It takes probably about 5 minutes for it to get heated enough for you to get the stuff out of the leaves. So it's not, if it was just mint leaves, it would be mint tea. I would call it mint tea, or like chamomile tea or Earl Grey tea or whatever those other teas are. So I get the leaves, the ones that are particular for me. There are some that you can use for particular things. I've seen a group of teas, a group of leaves that have been are pre-grounded together that help men with their prostate. There's a group that helps women with their menstrual cycle. There's a grouping of teas that helps with digestion. So for me, I got my first experience with bush tea as an adult from my friends, and it was just using what they had. And it was bush that they brought from Antigua, and they just boiled it up. It was ginger, bay leaf, which is not the bay leaf that you season with, not the Italian bay leaf. It was Christmas leaf. I think Christmas leaf and bay leaf are synonymous. I haven't been able to find that anywhere except for her sending it to me. It was ginger and eucalyptus, I think. And then there were other things that they used and other things that my uncle sent in his list that I was able to find around. And then when she realized that I needed those, she sent them to me. So the mix that I use is the mix that I inherited from my uncle, because this is what worked for cleansing his cells. This is what the Holy Spirit told him to use. But they all these trees have good properties for different things, but a lot of it is digestive health. So when we're talking about flushing out the system, it's not just going to the bathroom for number one, it's also going to the bathroom for number two, right? You got to release all of that stuff. And a lot of this stuff, disease is dis-ease in the body points to the digestive tract. So you want to purge that. So fasting does it, drinking your water does it, and eliminating number two does it. So anything that you can use to just health-wise, you don't want to take a bunch of enemas. Those do the same thing, right? But it's not healthy. And it strips the body and doesn't put back into it what it needs. So the bush tea, this grouping of leaves that I boil down, cleanses my system within minutes. And it's not uncomfortable. It's not, oh my gosh, I got to go right now. No, it's not that. It's not. I've done saltwater cleanses just because of the way that I lived life as a fasted life. And man, when you saltwater cleanse, is not kind. Like you got to do that when you have 4 hours at home, because you're then 15 minutes, your tummy is telling you it's time to go and sit on the throne and pray a little bit. So yeah, the bush tea doesn't have that same effect, and it gives you back into your body the things that you need, the nutrients, the vitamins. So I will post the slide that I have on my Facebook page with the bush tea and the properties for each leaf. So eucalyptus leaf, mint leaf, fever grass / lemongrass, moringa, or tree of life. I think my uncle calls it marabee. I'm not sure, but there are different terms, Christmas leaf or bay leaf. And you just, home we drink Cersei too. So Cersei, I just don't have access to it here. But there's all these things that we do. Strong back, rat root or something like that. Anyway, it's all these things, but I got access to what I could get access to, and it really helps with perpetuating the cycle in my body. Do we have any more questions?
No.
Okay. Well, I thank you all for your time. I couldn't look to see who all was here because I don't do speaking. So that would have made me nervous, and you guys would have been looking at slides and reading them on your own. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that joined in. I have reached out to my physicians, and they're being so kind as to accepting my offer to come in and speak a little bit about the importance of doing certain things. So next month, I'm going to try to have another shorter talk with just them and give you guys a chance to ask questions, those that are wanting to know about spinal health, the immunotherapy side of it, and my gynecologist. But one thing that I can say is God has been good. God has been good. He has been kinder to me than I have been to myself. There have been things that I have done to my own body and with my own body that should have wrecked me, but he has kept me. And not only did he heal me physically, which would have been enough, but he also healed me financially. I walked away from this with a zero balance. And one of my hospital bills was a house, 152. I don't even remember, 52, 82, something. It's on my Facebook page. I didn't think to mention it just now until just now, so I don't have the figure with me, but it was well over $150,000. And even if that was the only bill that he paid it. He paid it. But it takes action and faith. God inspired, God directed action and your faith. God directed, God inspired action and your prayers, right? God directed, God inspired action and your worship. All these things come together. It's not just faith. It's not just prayers. It's not just worship. You have to do. When you're tired, you have to do. Surround yourself with people that will help you. Okay? When you feel that you can't do anymore, you have to do. You have to keep moving. You have to exercise. You have to change your diet. And if that for you, if you are a carnivore, like some of my people are, but you want life to be different, you want to live a healthier life, or your current situation demands it to be different, praying will not be enough. You have to do it. And then after you've gotten the victory, like some of you here have already gotten the victory. I'm not the only testimony of being healed. You have to do it. You have to do it. Just what Nike says, just do it, right? Just do it. It's not just about the spirit. It's also about the physical, okay? And a lot of what you're going to learn how to do comes from what the spirit tells you to do. The intuition, that gut feeling, it's not just a feeling. It's not just a thought. It's not just a, I felt like, no, it's the spirit knocking on the door, trying to tell you, because the word declares that he doesn't want anyone to perish from anything, and he's already conquered it. And healing is already all healing. By his stripes, we are healed. He didn't say physical healing. He didn't say healing from sickness, mental, financial, everything. You have a claim to healing, but you have to do. He had to come and die. He had to do so that we can do. And he wants to tell you what to do. I believe that with all my heart. He wants to tell us what we need to do for every area of our life. And that just means that you have to be in connection with him. So if there's nothing else, and I don't see anything else, I want to leave you guys with a song. And then right after this, we're going to end the meeting. So thank you for your time. Thank you for spending your Saturday here with me. Yes, Saturday. I appreciate the support. I appreciate all of the comments on Facebook, all of the encouragement, all of the praise, all of the praise. It's good to know that there are people that will get excited for the good things that are happening in your life along with you. And I think we need to do more of that. And the word says we overcome by the word of our testimony. So I expect to see some testimonies. Even if, as I used to say, my testimony was loading, I expect to see some testimonies, even if they're loading about just what God is doing, because we see enough about what's going wrong. So it will be good to know that, hey, I got that credit card interest free. I got that car, I won that car. There's so many things that could encourage somebody who's walking. We all need encouragement in so many areas of our life. So I hope this has been an encouragement to you guys. I pray that there was something here worth you taking your time out on this Saturday. I will say my phone number right now, and then we'll post it somewhere. I don't know, everybody's not on Facebook, but if you need to reach me about the bush tea ingredients, you don't have access, you live in an environment that doesn't have this type of thing, you need me to send it to you, I will do that. I am so committed to you living life strong and living life well that we will make it happen. We will make it happen. And for anybody interested in going business with me for that hand thing, we could do that too. So my phone number is 470. I am on WhatsApp. It's 470-844-9538. Again, it is 470-844-9538. Okay. Thank you all. I just want to share one more thing with you, but feel free to log off if you have to, and we will post the recording somewhere. We'll figure it out.
I know I came in late, but I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you get your bush tea from the store, or you pick it off the tree?
Both. I am lucky enough to have a friend in Antigua, but I also have family in the islands. So Keisha, Ava, those I'm sure will go in. Uncle Sam will go in and grab me some ingredients. But I have a friend in Antigua who is my supplier. She picks the leaves from the trees that are in her yard, dries them in her oven, and she sends them to me whenever anyone's coming over. And has told me she will mail them to me if need be. But I also have access to a farmer's market, Buford Farmers Market in Georgia, and the DeKalb Farmers Market in Georgia that has a lot of the leaves. And then I can take them home from the farmer's market and either dry them out myself, or they have them packaged where they're dried. I have seen them on Amazon, but I would tell you to just be careful of anything that you buy that's already packaged. Make sure you look at what's in it. My philosophy is if I can't pronounce the word, I don't need it in my body. So if it's supposed to be bay leaf, then it's bay leaf. So I have access to 3 sources, but I've gotten most of it from Antigua.
Chene, can you give your number again, please? I was looking for a pen, so I missed it.
Hi, Tika. Yes, it's 470. I'm gonna ask Jonica to put it in the chat too. 470-844-9538. And the bush tea, along with the support group, I think the bush tea did a lot. And a lot of these things have eye health, dental health, cholesterol, digestion, mental clarity, which was important for me, sugar balancing in the body, how your body intakes sugar and breaks it down, because cancer feeds on sugar. One more thing, which is so important, so important. For those of you, I'm sorry, for those of you that are fighting cancer or know someone that's fighting cancer, I got a different perspective. I think it's a God-inspired perspective from one of my doctors. He said, we always look at cancer as if it's a bad thing, but what is cancer doing? So cancer has the dirty job in the body, right? And there's a show called Dirty Jobs, right? Nobody wants to be the garbage man. Nobody wants to go clean the sewers. You know, somebody has to do it, right? So your body is well, and then cancer pops up, and then it multiplies, and it's feeding off of the bad things that are in your body. The things that are in your body in particular that should not be there. That is what cancer feeds off of. And the more of those things that you have in your body that shouldn't be there, the more the cancer grows and feeds. And the reason why your body probably doesn't recognize it as an enemy is because, is it really an enemy if it's dealing with getting the bad things out? Is it? Or is it doing the job that it was designed to do? We all have cancerous cells in our body. They go out of whack when our bodies are out of alignment. So how do we beat it? Get rid of the stuff that's in our bodies that shouldn't be there. For you, it may be, I don't know, something. For me, let's just say, for me, it may be chocolate. It may be the sugar that I get, and my body's like, you're eating too much chocolate. The sugar's out of control. Cancer jumps in. We're eating, but I'm still eating the chocolate. And so cancer is growing, and it gets to the point where my body can't. It's overwhelmed me. So if we take a look at all power belongs to God. So if we take a look at what we think the enemy is throwing at us, and we're figuring out, what is this taking in my body? What is it getting rid of? And then now let me get back to a state of managing and then overcoming this thing. How can I fight what this battle is? And so if we look at it as, okay, it's eating something. What's the toxic thing that it's eating? Maybe it's some medication that I'm on that's doing something else to my body. Because unfortunately, in the medical industry now, they give a pill for an ill, but it has all these other things that it causes. So it throws your body out of alignment, cancer jumps in, boom, but you're taking it because you need it. So how about get your body to a state, its state, because my body is not your body, but get your body to its state that it is functioning in its full health capacity. And then these things won't be a challenge, okay? It's a symptom of something that's wrong in the body, as opposed to it just magically appeared and it's trying to kill me. It's your body. So yes, it's going to kill you if you don't rid whatever's going on and then keep it out of your body, which is why it's an ongoing work. So now I'm predisposed. Now my daughter has to write on her genetic charts that yes, her mother had cancer, and now I have to watch what's in her system and what she's eating. So it's a work, but it's like anything else, right? How much is it worth? What is the thing that you're living for and you're fighting for? Even if it's just you. So 470-844-9538. And watch my Facebook page for the postings. And so that being said, I'm going to close with this last song that I think we all need. And until next time, I love you guys and thank you for being here. And I am praying for your journey.
You know